Happy Independence Night anniversary in Nigeria, and it's such a great day to be alive. We've seen these over the years, and interestingly, many of the issues that have been there, they are still very much with us today. In fact, some say they've gone worse. So today, on our discussions on Nigeria at 59, particularly on this segment, we're looking at the change that we need to take Nigeria to the next level on both sides of the divide. Whether those in government today, those who were there yesterday, and those who are yet to be in government, one thing is common. Things are not the way they ought to be against the background of how things have been in the country in recent times. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun. Welcome on board our special edition of TMI 59th Independence Anniversary edition of TMI. But let me quickly welcome our panelists from my extreme left, Comrade Austin Osakwe is Executive Director, Foundation for Good Governance and Social Change. Yesterday or so, on Saturday, it was a great event, an award ceremony to single out women, honor them, celebrate them. Comrade Austin Osakwe, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
I also have with us another civil society activist, Comrade Osage Runse. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
My pleasure. Thank you. Good morning, viewers.
The ASU Chairman, University of Benin, Professor Julius Yasere, is with us this morning. Prof, thanks for coming and happy Independence Anniversary.
Good morning, Duke, and I wish you freedom, Nigerians.
Okay. Bishop Austin Igbasa is also with us here. Bishop, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Good morning, please.
Okay, let me read something that tickled my fancy a little bit this morning. It was an independence message credited to the bombastic barrister Patrick Obayagun, aka Igodomigodo. I'm sure this will interest you, but when I'm done, whether you will be able to understand the message that he tried to convey to you on Nigeria's independence anniversary is a different thing altogether. He started this way by saying, as we celebrate Nigeria's autonomy at 59, we must reflect on the urgent need to pull Nigeria out of its marshmallow of centrifugal excrescences that currently weighs against our centripetal agglutinants. The Sisvian challenge to the Pax Nigeria of our dreams, more than anything else, still remains our malodorous, putrescent, fractious, and opprobrious drift into a cocoon of ethnocentric chauvinism and syphilitic parapoising. Until we extirpate the herein before mentioned Gorgon Medusa, all efforts at nation building amounts to vacuous scaremaki. Best wishes, Nigeria, Patrick Obayagun. I don't know whether you got anything from there, but at least you heard Nigeria, so you knew we're actually talking about Nigeria. That's just on the light side. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you for coming. Now, we are aware of the problems. We know what the problems are, but it looks like right now, what is the most critical challenge is to get the right solution to take us to the direction that we ought to be. Let me start with Bishop, closest to me here. Leadership change we need, the change we need, where should we start from, and how should we structure this to make Nigeria great again, to take Nigeria forward, to make Nigerians have more confidence in the country called Nigeria?
I think that what Nigeria needs is not a fierce or a fearful Goliath leadership. What we need is to strengthen our institution. And we can decide to change people in government as many times as possible. If our institutions are not strengthened, and we are looking at, it's just like a very big trailer with power steering. A primary school student can drive that trailer. Why? Because the steering is not being powered by strength. There is a system in place that makes it easy for that small boy to turn the trailer to where the trailer doesn't even want to go, because the system is in place, not the strength of that boy. That's why you see most of these Dangote trailer, 17, 14 years old boys are driving. It's not by age. Why? Because there's a power system that makes the steering easy for whosoever is controlled to control. I think that Nigeria should not look for old men to be our leader. We should look for people that are vibrant and strengthen our institution. Now, we cannot run a nation without rule of law. Yesterday we saw what the DSS were 2 days ago we showed inside court. I was in tears and my children are watching. This can only happen in zoo where you have animals. So when we have a system in place, and I see the special advisor to the president on information saying that it is not yet time for president to dabble into what is happening between the SSS and now, is it the country we want to build tomorrow where people does not have freedom to talk, freedom to criticize? We must start the change of leadership by strengthening our institution. There must be rule of law and judicial. There must be separation of power. We see we have independence today. We are celebrating independence, but Nigeria is not enjoying freedom because there is no freedom of speech. There is no freedom of association. There is no freedom of doing things. Until we do that, we have not started. We must go back to the rule of law. Where a sitting government will be able to obey the court. Where an executive will not decide what a judge must write. We take our mind back to the days of Justice Chukwudi Okuta, when he stood his ground. We remember how Justice Tekayode of blessed memory stood their ground and wrote the sentencing judgment that positioned this country. We remember Justice Awuwaifo of Supreme Court when he gave a dissenting judgment that positioned these people. They stood their ground. They were able to exercise their right and the freedom for the judiciary. So until we do that, when we have a sitting president that does not obey, you selected court orders to obey, you decide who to be arrested, you decide for judges what to do. Look at what the chairman of Bar Association said recently. Both the judiciary, the bar and the bench, they are under siege. Okay, and we cannot run a nation. Yeah. We cannot run a nation like that. When a president that was put in place by constitution, a government that was established by constitution, we break the constitution and you want the masses. Because I've said it repeatedly, that the problem of Nigeria, sir, is not with the follower, it's with the leaders. Okay, let me push it there, Bishop. Look at it, we are excellent people, we are good people, we are great people. Nigerians bear, they bear so much, but our leaders doesn't bear. We bear the pain of petrol, nobody go on the street. The people who are collecting salary, see by
you're saying that it's more of leadership than followership.
And the leadership must be by rule of law.
Let me get Prof to add to what Bishop said, except maybe you are concurring. Hook, line, and single. What
well, I will allude. It's a very, very emotional day. That is the honest truth. Looking at, some of us have been here since close to independence and all that, and we know what it used to be and what we have today. My worry was that I listened to some earlier persons who talked on this independence and people alluded to were making growth and all that. But then I was consoled by that, the fact that those who made all those assertions were politicians. Because the eye does not see itself, but by reflection by other things. That is written by Shakespeare. So those who made all those assertions are actually politicians, those who have bandited themselves as politicians, and so they are the ones masquerading. And so there's no way they are going to be able to assess themselves effectively, except for those who are, as spectators watching. They can tell you this is the way it is. But however, my position is this, because we are trying to provide solution to the monumental problems that we have in this country as a nation. The truth about it is that apart from how to throw up leaders, because the way we throw up leaders here, we have seen that it has failed. The electionary process has failed. That is the honest truth. Of course, we were all here helplessly, couldn't get the president to sign the Electoral Act and all that. And it has played out in the process of adjudication and all that. So since that process has failed, we must think, number one, of the process of throwing up leaders. or officers to various offices in this country. That is one. Two, I have also seen that we have lost all of our social classes. There is no other social class in this country apart from the one that hinges on ethnicity. And that is why, you know, you start from even the local government for the ward level and all of that, all hinged on my brother, my sister, and all that at the end of the day. And of course, you send people to even the National Assembly because they are from a particular area and all that. And this is the biggest problem that is facing Nigeria now. That is the problem of ethnicity. You understand? Yeah. And so what I'm saying here is that in terms of trying to build other structure, that's why I say I was going to allude to what he has said, trying to build structures in this country, we must also look at other social class. Maybe now, if you are to send people to the National Assembly, you now come and say, okay, can we get somebody from NBA, Nigerian Bar Association, or people from who are lawyers or thereabout? Yeah. Can we get people from Market Association? Can we get people from road transport workers? Can we get people from who are farmers? Can we get maybe teachers? These are some other social classes that we can look at who will now go to make laws for us, for this country.
Let me pause it there for a moment. We're just in time now to take a break.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thank you for staying with us. It's still the live studios of Independent Television to mark Nigeria at 59, discussing all the issues that have dominated national discourse with a view to finding solutions. I just think that right now, as most people will also say, is the days of lamentations, they are over. Let's focus on the solutions that will take Nigeria to where it ought to be. We have Professor Julius Yasere speaking a while ago. We'll come back to him later, but let me go to Comrade Osage Orunse. Finding solutions, the leadership change, or the change we need. Let's not even go to the change we need, because it's all encompassing. What are your thoughts?
All right. Let me, first of all, just permit me to go back to history briefly. You see, independence have become like an irony. If you noticed before 1960, where our forefathers were fighting for independence, there were basic things that they said they wanted as a people. But the irony is this: ever since we got independence, the situation has gotten worse. And if you go back memory lane, you will discover that from military rule to civilian rule, three fundamental things have gone wrong with our system. Number one, we have to look at the freedom of the electoral processes. You see, when you don't elect your leaders, they turn back to do anything they like. Okay. You know, that is one fundamental area, because part of the things that a lot of people have said, which I also share, is that the INEC is not really independent. When you have the electoral umpire, that is the appointees, the civil servants of the government of the day, what do you expect? They have to do their bidding. Yeah. You know, so the freedom of our electoral processes is an issue. Yeah. Of the INEC is an issue. Yeah. Because the INEC, although is perceived to be independent, but it's not really independent. And that's the reason why we have come to see over the years that what we got at independence was independence, not freedom. Okay. We just had the right to a geographical entity and integrity, but the basic issues that the individualities of the ordinary Nigerians really wanted are still hanging. In fact, if you compare history, you discover that it has even become worse. For example, there were even better educational system during the time of the colonial masters. There were better system of accountability. There was better accountability system. There were better infrastructures. In fact, some of the buildings, some of the infrastructural work of the colonial masters are still standing strong till date. So what happened? Why no sane man will give any credence to colonialism? But what happened over the years was like the tools of oppression changed hands from the white to the black. And that's exactly what we are still seeing. And one of the most powerful structures that build society is our electoral system. Today, the INEC cannot be said to be truly independent. And another area to look at our electoral system is the fact that there are no limit to spending. Election currently in Nigeria is seen as an investment. If someone invests billions of naira to come into power, now what do you expect him to do when he gets there? And don't also forget that these individuals that vie for different offices, all of this money does not belong to them. So sometimes they have to be sponsored by so-called fathers. So when they get to the position of authority they want to settle. The another mistake I think we have made is the mistake of seeing criticism as those that criticize a certain government as an enemy. Yeah. You know, we have a mentality of crush them all. Currently in Nigeria, that's our practice. That's what we see. Yeah. You know, we have this mentality of if you speak against me, you should be crushed down. Then what is the beauty of democracy? Then I think we have to overhaul our system. You know, if you look at some countries in the world, like Singapore and some others, I've come to Nigeria over the years to collect our templates. I've even borrowed from our policies in education and agriculture. Then we have systems that are not functional, that are not working, because individuals are made stronger than the institutions. And all over the world, it is systems and institutions that run nations. In every human being is the tendency to be a monster, to be corrupt. But by virtue of systems and institutions that are stronger than the individuals, they are checkmated. Our attitude and our behavior are checkmated. Yeah. So let me borrow from the words of John C. Maxwell. He said, everything rises and falls on leadership. Today, what is staring at us at the face is the massive failure of leadership. Why we must be optimistic, but we must tell Nigerians that it's not enough to pray and say things will get better. If you look at the biblical story of the children of Israel, between Egypt and the promised land, a journey of 40 days took them over 40 years. Why? Because God expects the people to take responsibility. We can pray as much as we want to and try to be very positive as much as we want to. If we don't take responsibility for nation, nothing is going to happen. We need a total overhauling of our attitude to nationhood, because basically it's sad to say, but that's the reality. The average Nigerian today lives for money, not for values, not for ideas. And beneath our political undertone is already the ideology of ethnicity and religion. You know, we are seriously divided. The average Nigerian does not see himself as a Nigerian, but he sees himself in the context of an ethno group. Yeah. He sees himself in the context of ethnicity. We need a total overhauling, and it has to start from our primary school system. So
for you, that's where the change should start from?
Yeah, that's where it should start from. We need to begin to take courses on leadership, attitude, values. We need to let Nigerians realize that life is beyond money, it's purpose. And we must hold our leaders accountable. Because the right that the leadership have to oppress the people is the right that the people give to the leaders.
All right, let me come to Comrade Austin Sakwe, waiting patiently. You know, from pre-colonial through colonial to post-colonial now, we've seen an increase in revenue profile of Nigeria, but you can't match the revenue profile that has accrued to this country with the development. In other words, they are not at par. I read a story recently that talked about NDDC owing contractors up to 1 trillion naira, and then I'm wondering, so they got up to this amount? I don't know what your perspectives are, because we're talking about how do we profile lasting solutions that will drive Nigeria in the direction it ought to be against the background of this myriad of problems.
Thank you. You see, you opened the program by saying that we all know the problems, is the solutions we are looking for. At times I wonder whether we truly know the problems. Nigeria is a country that got her independence on negotiating tables, only for the leaders to turn around and forsake the original goals. There were original goals. The original goals of consensus and development, only to embrace self-aggrandizement, buffoonery, mediocrity.
anybody now can be a leader. That's mediocrity. We are willing to accept anything. We saw the caliber of leaders who fought for independence. They were the best that we could offer in their various, they had pedigrees. Today is mediocrity. In fact, the people we throw up as role models are the worst in society. They are the dregs of society. Those who should lead the way have been relegated. There was a consensus. It is not an accident that it was disparate groups that came together to become Nigeria. The girlfriend, if you like, mistress of the then Governor General, Miss Flora Shaw, was the one who, in a wave of inspiration, or perhaps in a state of drunken stupor, saw River Niger, saw River Benue. In the search for a name for Nigeria, she simply said Niger area, which became Nigeria. So ab initio, there was an understanding that these were disparate groups. The Hausa Fulani, the Tuaregs, the Kanuris, the Edos, the Yorubas. Even among the Yorubas, there was the Oyos, the Lajes, it was disparate groups. But the moment the leaders came together and agreed that they wanted to be one nation, there needed to be a basis for understanding. Even the Bible asks the question pointedly, can two work together except they agree? It is madness to think that if you stay long enough in doing the wrong thing, somewhere along the line it becomes right. You can't find something on nothing. So, to keep these disparate groups together, therefore, we needed to evolve a system that emphasizes unity rather than disunity. We needed to rely on a system that can throw up the best amongst us to become leaders, people who are detribalized. Not somebody who will come out openly and say, I am going to treat differently those who voted for me 97% from those who voted for me 5%. When such a person is at the apex of the exercise of power, the people are in trouble. So we have not evolved a system that can throw up leaders who are detribalized, who will regard, look, I want a president who will regard Nigeria as his constituency, not his place of birth. So we are riddled with ethnicity, with tribalism, and all kinds of chauvinistic considerations, mundane considerations. So when you are looking for where our problem is and where to start finding solution, that's where to start. What flows naturally from that is that Professor Iyasere of the University of Benin, if he is involved in the admission process, he will understand that whatever he is doing there is a problem for where he's going. Because when students from across the country write JAMB, we have separate cutoff marks for different children from different parts of the country. So when my son writes JAMB and scores 290 over 400, they ask him to hold on. We are not sure you have gotten the cutoff mark. Another child from Zungeru in Niger State or Benin Kebbi scores 187 over 400. He has automatic admission and is likely to get a scholarship to aid him. And then you bring these children to the same school and you are teaching them about nationalism. You are telling them that there is unity. The children laugh at you because they know you are fooling yourself. So foundationally, we are a country that is resting on pretense. So when I heard one clown say, we need to rejoice, we need to celebrate independence because we are together, I say, together where? In your house? This country, let it be on record, this country has never been so divided as it is today. Yeah. For the first time, people are afraid to drive on the roads. The reason you go to the airport now and airfares are up, and if you don't book a flight a week before, then you're not likely to get a seat. It's because more and more people do not want to drive on the roads. Even in broad daylight, people are being stolen. When I was growing up, people used to steal property. Now they steal human beings. And then we have to go and pay to release such human beings. Having said that, sir, and I agree entirely, I see the pain, I can feel the pain of Bishop Igbason. I agree that everything rises and falls with leadership. But unfortunately, when there is no proper leadership, the followership becomes worse. That's where we are. Because what a leader does is that he casts a vision, mobilizes, and galvanizes the people to embrace that vision. That's why they talk about the American dream. Every American knows where the country is headed. So when you discuss with an American child, when you say certain things, he corrects you. Where is he getting his information from? The national consensus. There's a national consensus. The Indians know where they are going. The Chinese know where they are going. Look, there was a time when a video went viral, and we're seeing 12, 13, 14-year-old Chinese children working in factories, and the world said child labor. Are we still saying that today? They knew that what they wanted was to produce and produce and produce, in fact, and take over the world. And overproduce. They have overproduced. To the extent that America is scared of China. A country with over 1.67 billion people is not only producing to feed its population, but it's a threat to the markets of other nations in the world. So there's a national consensus. If a leader fails to cast a vision and mobilizes and galvanizes the people to embrace that vision, the people are like sheep without shepherd, and they do what they like. That's why I will spend 15 minutes at one spot to move from secondary secular into New Lagos Road, just because people have decided to put their wares on the road, and we are helpless and we can't do anything about it. That's why when I stop at a traffic light because it's red, other drivers behind me are asking me, you don't have where to go, you don't know where they fear them. That's why when Mr. A is going wrong, Mr. B does not have the courage to correct him. That's why an officer in the office, when he does wrong and you question, he will say, go and tell whoever you want to tell.
I don't care.
I don't care. Because the Bible says, little living the whole lump. An institution starts dying from the head. So the failure of leadership, it was what has created all these abuses. So the hope for Nigeria, and as we get along on this program, we'll begin to look at specific steps that we need to take. Radically. Because if we agree that yesterday is better than today, then we need to ask ourselves, what were those things that we were doing yesterday? How were they doing them? So that we can bring them to now. We can't continue to pretend in this country.
Thank you, Comrade Austin Osekwe. It's always a delight to have you here, as well as our panelists on Nigeria at 59 Studios, talking about the country that we have as our own. Whether you like it or not, this is the only country that we have. And we must all work together to see how we can drive the country to the direction it ought to go. Now, Bishop, when you listen to those who have seen it all, they make reference to days of yore, the days of Awolowo, the days of Zik, the Sadana of Sokoto, Tafawa Balewa, and so many of them. And up until recent times, we've also seen some of the mistakes those heroes past made. But at least, what were the templates set by those people that makes us easily make reference to the days that they were alive, the things that they did, the ideology that they had? I've always asked this question on a day like this. Was it that those ideas that they had, they couldn't transfer them into the generations after them, and then like that until we get here? I'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Now, like those men you have mentioned, most of them are also young people. If you remember our father, late Anthony Enauru, you can remember his age when they moved for independence. But you see today, at the level of representation, you see somebody 77 years is still in the House of Assembly.
The youth leader.
And he's a youth leader. Somebody who is a secretary of the youth club is 60-something years. Now you ask yourself, how could Papa Enahoro at that age have gotten so much education, enlightenment, to be able to see and move such emotion for a future of Nigeria under the colonial masters? Now, we ask ourselves, the question is that those who benefited from free education of Awolowo, and many of them later became governor of a state, do those people make people, the children of the poor, to enjoy scholarship? The same people that benefited from that platform, what eventually do they put so that generation after them will be able to say, it was during this time of so governor I was given scholarship to go and study. I remember our sitting president who said there's no need for people go abroad to study there, not even go to steal. People go abroad sponsored by government to go and study and come back to Nigeria, not to study and sit down there. Now, what I feel is that those who benefited from that system of free education, I know some of them who are former governors now, they were product of free education of Awolowo. Some of them even travel far. They left their own region to go there and go and enjoy free education. But when they became governor, what did they do about educational system that will make other generations to come on board and be able to say, I will have not been, I refer to former Governor Rocha Sokorocha. He was a son of a poor person. It was a doctor that saw him on the street and picked him and put him in the school and took care of his education. Eventually the man came back and to come and build some schools to even raise the children of the poor. But how many people have gone through such a system and were able to, on their own, said, I will not be a street urchin if not for somebody who picked me on the street? What do I do for other people who will have become nuisance to our nation in the future? I think that the generation then felt, give them education, and you have given them what will stabilize them. Okay. And those who enjoyed the education then came to power, and at the end of the day took the ladder that took them up, break the ladder, and because of their own selfishness they decided to shut down. I don't believe that the old people who are independent, moved for that independence and had a template, did not do their best to be able to inculcate into a younger generation how they will continue with the vision. I felt that some persons who enjoyed, who benefited along the line, decided to say, if the children of the poor benefit from this, then tomorrow my own child who study in Harvard University will not have a platform. So we need to shut down the mouth of the children of the poor, not even knowing that the children of the poor will later take into crime and decide to murder their own children that went to Harvard University. So what I feel is that they try to pass the information across and put some platform in place, but the generation that came on board and enjoyed this for their short-sightedness and selfishness decided to shut down. Let me point to you now, how many governors today in 36 states of the federation can point to and say, we have a standing scholarship program that is given to the children of the poor. I'm not talking of all of us are politicians. There's a platform of this, let's share it within our children. I'm talking of going to the masses, even trade that money. How many poor people does it reach their hand? Forget about video coverage. What we are saying is that it goes between the people who are in the system, not really for the people.
So you're saying in effect that those who were there in the years gone by, they handed things over to the next generation. Okay, let me pause it there. Yes, Prof. Yes,
an additional point to make here. It is that is a very good question. It's about the third point I was going to make. You know, here today, I said number one, system of throwing up leadership. Number two, I mentioned the loss of social class. We are using only, we have relied on only one class that is so dangerous, which is the tribal ethnic issue. The third I was going to talk about as a point for us to ponder on in this country is the idea of restructuring. The issue is that the persons you mentioned earlier worked almost in an environment in which it was going to be easy for them to operate. It is a little that a round peg can do in a square hole. Earlier, we ran the parliamentary system people were allowed to handle the people they know.
Yeah.
They operated in their regions. Now you banded, you are just people of different understanding of the, together. There are persons who don't care whatever they do. You go to so many places in this country, there are still places where they don't have convenience. In the morning, everybody is taking one plate or the other, and they are walking into the bush and all that. You are asking what they are going to do and all. That is the system there. You put those people together with some other person who knows that yes, you must use a water system and all that together, and you think you are going to achieve result. And you have seen here, somebody was saying yesterday that some persons who have not been able to take the president of this country to task because he's doing a railroad from Nigeria to Niger. He feels more comfortable with those people. That is just, there's nothing you can do about it. Let us not continue to keep quiet. That is the issue. So here, we must, if a system is not working, we have tried this presidential system now, this other system for how many years now, and then it's not working. We must do a change. It was better earlier under the parliamentary, under the regional government. The Nigeria fared better. So we must restructure this country. We must bring it back closer home. Make our system more homogeneous. Now the heterogeneity of this Nigeria is not forging us ahead at all. We can't make headway. So that is my third point that I've come to establish this morning.
Okay, comrade. Yes.
If let me add to that.
Yes.
You see, Nigeria is a nation blessed and endowed with natural resources.
Yeah.
The problem is not even the money. The problem is mismanagement. There was a time in this country when a certain president said, I can't recall the name now, we have a lot of money.
Yeah, it was the former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon. But somewhere along the line, he said he never said that.
Okay, fine.
Yeah,
but over the years, what we still see today is not the unavailability or the lack of resources. It's the lack of adequate management of resources. Now, just take a look at the divide between the recurrent expenditure and the capital expenditure. Why is it that year after year, the recurrent expenditure is fully funded? But when it comes to the capital expenditure, there are only stories. And it is the capital expenditure that determines the economy of the country, that determines profit. Yeah. The recurrent expenditure is like you are spending money, putting money into a bag of holes. That's exactly what we keep on saying. Now, what happened to our educational system? There was a time in this country when you talk of quality education, people come from other countries to even school year. Nigeria was leading. Now, our educational system have not only been degraded for lack of funding, we have also seen a situation where currently we have the highest number of out-of-school children in the world. And when education is broken in a nation, the future of the nation is not secured. We have a situation where the children of the poor cannot be sure of accessing quality education, except you have a lot of money and you're able to go out. What happened to our health sector? As important as health is, we've had successive governments that have come to say you don't need to trouble our blood for treatment, even our present leadership. But we've also seen right before our eyes, our presidents and our governors are going out of the country for health care. But in the First Republic, we saw how people were coming into Nigeria in the quest for health care, even UCI and all of that. So we have a problem with mismanagement. What happened then was that while our heroes, I always want to make this point clear, our fathers that founded this independent, immediately into the First Republic, you notice that they made an error of ethnic divide. If you look at the action group, the NCNC and what have you, you notice it was purely tribalistic driven. You know why that mistake were there, but there was a sincerity to see how to serve the people. That's the reason why Awolowo did well as the Prime Minister in the West. He did well, free education. Till date, we are talking about his legacy. That's the reason why the like of Abu Salih University is long gone. But we are still talking about him till date. But you can see the sincerity. But what we have had over time is a people that say they are fighting for change and they have become richer. Their children are better than the system, and the so-called change that we say we are fighting for is getting worse. What is staring at us is oppression, and that must be resisted. I want to say that at independence, beyond talking about our leaders, our people must take responsibility.
Okay. We must be able to challenge system headlong that are not working.
Engage the system.
And call a spade a spade. Engage the system within the ambit of the law.
All right, let me pause it there. Comrade, you made a point earlier, as if you read my mind, talking about, okay, how did they get it right in the days of yore, and why can't we get it right now in this country?
Yes. Two things. Number one, there are substructures and there's a superstructure. First and foremost, society is founded on values.
Yeah.
When I grew up on Television Road, now NTA Road. It was West Secular then, in Benin City here. If you go to that road now, you can't count up to 4 or 5 houses that are fenced around. It was like that when we were growing up. Nobody bothered to fence his house. Because a thief was everybody's thief. He won't escape. The values were there. Right now you have the cancer of individualism. At that time it was communal living. If my mother was cooking in the kitchen and she discovered that soup was there but there was no oil, she would send me to the next house to get oil. Ditto, if those ones were boiling yam and they discovered that there was no salt, they would send somebody to our house to get salt. It didn't mean that we didn't quarrel now and then. But you see, while they were doing that, there was no fear that the oil and salt would be poisoned. There was no fear that tomorrow the other one will laugh at this and this will laugh at that. Look, I was once given a dirty slap by my late auntie. I greeted her in the morning, next thing was slapped. And so after I finished crying, I needed to know why I was slapped. And she said, I greeted her while I was standing. I needed to be on both knees. That was the environment in which we grew up. Today is hi, Dad. Hi, Mom. Don't be silly, Dad. That's what, and we got this thing, and we think it's civilization. The values are gone. My definition of civilization is that civilization is the art of living peacefully together, benefiting from one another, and making progress in arts and crafts. But our civilization now is the ability to pick all the worst things around the world and bring them here. So, number one, the values are totally gone, and you cannot build a society on vices rather than values. The second thing is this. You ask, what did they do then? And I'll give you a few examples so that we can relate it with what we are having now. Obafemi Awolowo, for instance, always had what we call the 4 cardinal programs: free education, full employment, rural development, and of course health facilities. He had them. There was no, so the moment those cardinal objectives were there, resources were mobilized to achieve those objectives. In the north, they had the granite pyramids, and they used it to build edifices. We know of the Cocoa House in Ibadan. We know of Liberty Stadium. We know of UR. These are infrastructures that were put in place. What were the people selling? There was no oil. They had cocoa, there was groundnuts, there was rubber. We had the AT&P here. African timber and plywood. We had rubber processing. All of these were there. But what did they do? Number one, they added value to whatever they had. Farmers were scared that if they produce, they kept producing, they may not have markets for them. So what did the administration do? They set up marketing boards. They had price control mechanism. They had storage. So there was prosperity. Leaders add value. Take it to where we are now. Do you know that since we discovered oil, all we have been selling is crude oil? Crude oil is kobo in the international market. What sells is refined oil. How can our leaders, for over 40 years, we have been selling crude oil, which is kobo in the international market, we have refused to refine. So when we sell oil for 5 naira, people will take that oil of 5 naira which they have bought from us, they will refine it and sell it to us for 20 naira. And you are wondering why the dollar is up there and the naira is down here. In economics, sir, the strength of your currency is a reflection of what you produce, which they need that currency to buy from you. That is simple. The naira will continue to be epileptic, it will continue to suffer prostrate, as long as people don't need it to buy from us, because we don't sell anything.
We buy everything.
We buy everything, not a toothpick. So we have, God has blessed us. When I hear say God will help us, which God are you talking about? The same one that I know. God has given you everything. He said, take dominion. Yeah. And we keep praying, God, come and do it, come and do it. What is he coming to do? Jesus will come and die a second time because of you. God gave you crude oil. The same you get to Kuwait. The same you get to Saudi Arabia. The same you get to United Arab Emirates. You know why when you go to Dubai, they leave those deserts that you go to visit for sightseeing, so that they have a history to tell you that this beautiful place we are looking at
wasn't always like this.
It was like that. Yeah. They left it there. But God gave us oil, crude oil, rich in our land. The Bonny that we have, the Bonny crude, is one of the finest and the richest in the world. So what we just do as prodigal children that God created and put in a place called Nigerian Zoo is that we will lift the oil.
It's not a zoo. Okay, please correct that.
Yes.
Nigerian
nation. Yes. So we will lift the oil from the ground, we sell, and we come and fold out, and then we share the oil. So state governments go to the federal every day to go and collect their own. And then when it's coming, look, there are local governments that only open for about 5 days, and that's when the allocation comes. Yeah. Once everybody has taken their own, they take off. So, second thing, I've just told you, we add value. The third, sir, is that there is a system for everything. In ITV, for instance, this is not the only private TV station around here. But why is it the destination? There's a system in place. First and foremost, pick the right set of people. Actors, we call them actors in the system.
Absolutely.
Pick the right actors. Create an environment in which these actors can drive. What Professor Yasere called square pegs in square hole, not a round peg in a square hole. What has happened in Nigeria is that whereas this country has people who excel all over the world, I read recently that in an exam done in the United States, about 80 people from across the world, 46 Nigerians, 46 out of the 80 got the award. They carted them away. In a foreign land, is it brain surgeons? Is it pilots? Is it the best lecturers? Is it ICT? Name it. Nigerians are excelling all over the world. Nigerians who bear the name of Sarabo, Yetunde, Masabere, Uche, Ibrahim, the same Nigerians, they are excelling elsewhere. But at home, they can't do anything. Why? Because we have not created an enabling environment. And what is that environment? An environment that rewards good and punishes evil. Look, the Americans you are talking about, they steal more than you. They can be more corrupt than yourself. But the reason they can't do it is that they know that once they do the crime, they must do the time. That's why you hear in the press that somebody committed an offense 48 years later. They caught him because the system did not give up. The system knows that for every one criminal you bring to a book, it's a deterrent to others. So we now know that it's a system that takes care of criminals, that apportions blames. But here, somebody steals today. You are shocked tomorrow he's being given an award. Honoris causa. He's being made the chief. And so the young people around, the message we are sending to them is that crime pays. Who are the role models that we throw up today? Look at the role models that we are throwing up. The dregs of society. You talked about the award that we had on Saturday. What we needed to do was to tell the girl child in Edo State that there are women who have excelled, who demonstrated character and capacity. And these are the ones you need to look at. That's why we brought children from schools to come and see. We need to start showing the young people that Right, doing the right thing is good. Yeah. And then lastly, my brother, we cannot allow what Professor Yasere said go away without response. So we do not know that the presidential system of government is a major leviathan that we are suffering from. You mean we do not know that it's a major problem that we have? Where you say one man, his constituency is the entire country. And yet that man, if we probe, he can't rule his own home. How do you want him to succeed? The presidential system is too expensive, it's too tasky, and it's too unsuitable for the Nigerian environment. Whether we like it or not, we must go back to the parliamentary system. A situation, for instance, sir, where we just gather all the money, we take it to the center. We have all been to Abuja now.
Yeah, of course.
How do you want people to work hard here when they know that it is the oil in their land that is sold to develop Abuja the way it is? What I expected the leaders to do in this country is that since we are building Abuja, let every state have one Abuja. Let every state have one city outside the capital that is exactly what Abuja is, and we have the resources.
And that will give us a sense of belonging.
Lastly, to respond to my brother, you say we have enough resources. The truth of the matter is that we have no resources. Because resources not mobilized is latent. It can't give you anything.
Absolutely.
The resources we say we have, whether human or material, look at the people all over the street. As in the human resources we are talking about. These people on the street who are uncouth, who are disrespectful, who are in a hurry to break the law. We have many, yes, but what is the quality of these people? This is a country that invests more money in adult education than to give free education at nursery and primary level.
Okay, Comrade Austin, thank you so much. Because the problems are so numerous, the issues are also very numerous, and then you really can't exhaust them in just one program. We can go on like this for the next 2 hours. We will continue to unearth a whole lot. But what is very, very clear is the fact that we need to mobilize mass action. The mass action I'm talking about is not to destroy property. Someone said Nigerians need to take responsibility for nationhood so we can drive the country in the direction that it ought to be. I believe that if we have more Nigerians participating in politics, particularly as members of political parties, then it probably will become difficult for all the rigging and manipulation to throw up all kinds of human beings that will come into the political scene and do whatever they like at the detriment of the people. I know that as we speak today, a bag of rice is more than 25,000 naira.
And it's going up.
It's going up. And by the time we get to November and December, which is the real deal time, I'm just wondering how that's going to be. And so you wonder the kind of leadership, the kind of policies that we bring forth, and how we expect these policies to run in terms of impacting the lives of the people. Things are pretty hard, but I believe that we will get it right if we as Nigerians, as a people, decide to take our destiny in our hands to change the status quo. Unfortunately, the Western media is also not helping issues. They are branding us negatively. Just a very insignificant percentage of Nigerians are doing bad things. The generality of Nigerians, with a greater percentage, are doing marvelously well. Professor Julius Yasere is a professor of industrial chemistry. Not just that he teaches in the class, he's also producing. I've used his soap, bathing soap. I've used his.
I have samples to give to you people today.
Okay, I've used his hair cream
to give
and a whole lot of other things. So what it means is that we just need to have the right people in the right place, provide the right environment. Nigeria will be the best country in the world. Gentlemen, let me get a final word from you before we part. What are those things in 2 minutes? Bishop, I know when you get the microphone, you know, the spirit takes over. In 2 minutes.
See, the spirit takes
Yes,
over.
takes over. In 2 minutes. Those things that you think needs, if you have the opportunity to become the president of Nigeria, what are those 2 things you will fix? 2 minutes.
Number one, I will want all Nigerians to know their right. Church leaders should vote one Sunday out of 4 Sundays in a month to teach on human rights, or invite a human rights activist to take the altar. Let it happen in mosque. Let it happen in the group of those who are selling James Watt, Tire Dealers Association, Tires Dealer, Market Women. There should be a time when they are doing the environmental, you should gather the people and get a human rights expert to be able to educate, because most Nigerians don't even know their right. We must educate them, because when you say we should take our destiny in our hand, how do a man take his destiny when he didn't even know that he has a destiny? He believes that 2,000 from a politician is his destiny, so he has to collect it and just sit down. Whatever happens 4 years is not a problem.
All right,
Yeah,
Prof.
before I answer your question, I just correct an impression. By August 15th, I've now handed over as ASU chairman. I'm now immediate past chairman.
Oh,
so
okay,
I spent 4 years there.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. But as president of this country, the number one thing is to allow power to return back to the people. Become very, very humble. Remember that I'm now a servant of the people. And so once you do that, assemble technocrats, the best hands you can get, even if you are not, you know, the best that has been thrown up by the process, you will do well. And then the last I said is that we must restructure Nigeria. It's unlikely that many people are not behind Showore's idea. Thank you.
All right.
Let me talk on the need for us to see more credible role models. You see, the young generation of Nigerians will copy what they see. You know, it's important that we begin to project good and credible role models. We should be able to look at the template or the qualities for giving national award like CFR, CON. You know, we should begin to pick village school teachers, somebody that have left the beauty of the urban area to the rural, should be given a national award. Instead of trying to project people that have questionable character. Then again, when people suspect the social justice system, they will take to crime. We must strengthen our social justice system to be fair and equity. It must be transparent. It must be seen that our justice system is active and is impartial.
All right, so comment. 2 minutes.
Number one, go around the world and beg and bring those who can fix power in this country within a space of 1 year. If you fix power, 60% of our poverty problems will disappear. Number two, take power to the private sector. Across the world, it is not government that produces. Government puts enabling laws and policies and ensure that the justice system works. It is the private sector that produces. Encourage private sector. Don't use a tax system that destroys. I set up a business in January, you come in March and ask me to pay 3-year tax. Was I owing you before I even started the business? And then instead of reducing taxes, you are increasing taxes. So essentially, these are the things we do. And then once we have done that, finally, embark on a genuine process of moral purgation and spiritual rejuvenation through a national ethical reorientation program, which you must sincerely pursue by living first by example.
I read something recently about, I think the Ugandan president who refused to attend the just concluded or maybe still ongoing United Nations General Assembly. What was his excuse? His excuse was that if he decides to attend the General Assembly, he will spend more money. In fact, the country will spend more money because he will go with retinue of aides, ministers and all of that, pay accommodation, extra code, and what have you. And the guy just said, look, this thing is too expensive. So let's just get the Minister of Foreign Affairs and one other guy to represent. After all, we're going there to read his speech.
There's nothing to be said there.
The speech is just about 5 minutes or thereabout. How really would that change our lives here? But when you have that massive inflow of people, the city that hosts gets all the benefit because hotels are booked and what have you. Well, just a food for thought. But I want to thank our panelists here, Comrade Austin Osakwe, Osage, and Prof. and Bishop for joining us on the program.